Yesterday, we literally longed Bitcoin from the bottom, and ever since we have been seeing a pump happen on Bitcoin. However, right now we are literally range bound within a very critical zone. I'm thinking of actually looking and entering a potential new trade on Bitcoin. We are at a critical massive zone. Whether we catch an amazing short, we see a fake out, or we actually see a reclaim, a strong reclaim, and also then get a huge pump on Bitcoin. Now, obviously, I just want to show you guys the thing that was happening on Bitcoin previously. We have been building up a good higher medium time frame range, but also a lower time frame range where we actually finally caught the long awaited long. I literally made 6 to 7 videos about me wanting to long Bitcoin if we go below 58k, the low we made on I guess last Thursday. And finally we saw this happen yesterday in the morning at 5 a.m. literally my time. We saw the fake out that happened on Bitcoin, and then we literally caught the most amazing long from the literal bottom on Bitcoin. This is it. This is the long I took. And obviously afterwards we then saw Bitcoin reclaim the value area low of this little range we had been going through, and now we are actually potentially breaking out of this range. I'm going to be explaining how critical and how massive this would be for either seeing a rejection and then us getting back into this range, or potentially us getting back into a very strong important medium time frame, medium sized if I want to say so, range, because obviously this is the main critical one we were into for the past I'd say, or for a good while, for 20 days, and then we lost it. So right now Bitcoin had broken above the value area high, as you can clearly see, of the previous range, and it could potentially be right now reclaiming the value area low of this previous bigger or medium time frame range we got on Bitcoin. But however, we haven't fully cleared it. If Bitcoin is finally or is actually able to reclaim and hold 61.3 and doesn't just do a fake out and then loses it, this would be, to be honest, big lower time frame on Bitcoin, because if we do that, we could potentially see Bitcoin easily go and skyrocket, contextually from 61.3 all the way higher to 64.5, because obviously if we manage to not only hold the previous value area high of the previous range, but also get into and reclaim and hold the value area low of the bigger previous range, we could potentially moving and rotating from the value area low to the value area high. So potentially moving from 61k, 61.3 all the way higher to 64.4. However, we actually are currently potentially hitting a very critical zone. So right now it's the moment of truth. Can Bitcoin finally hold this level, or are we going to be losing it, getting an amazing fake out, and also potentially catching a big short on an altcoin? I very rarely do I ever talk about trading altcoins. However, I want to mention an idea for potentially getting a massive short on an altcoin. I'll keep that for the later. However, right now I want to cover the potential short on Bitcoin. As I said, we got right now the anchored VWAP, basically representing the downtrend we had started on Bitcoin ever since we started dropping from 67, and then we kept on actually being within this downtrend. So right now, Bitcoin potentially could give us an amazing short if we actually see a hit or a move upwards into the anchored VWAP, get into 62k, but then lose 61k, 61.3. This would be classified as us trying and attempting to get back into the previous range, failing at doing so, and then getting back into us continuing to drop further. If that doesn't happen, however, we could be actually getting the nice bounce. So if we hold 61.3, go above 2k, 62k, and then never go back below 61k, that would be critical for us going to 64k. So right now, this is the very important resistance, whether we catch a short or not, and that would also take us to potentially shorting an altcoin called Solana. Obviously, everybody knows Solana, and the reason is because we got a massive bigger time frame, amazing, very rarely seen confluence on Solana. We got the POC, literally a big volume profile POC. We got the NPOC of the previous month, and also literally the anchored VWAP that caused the drop from 145 all the way, or 150 all the way lower to currently the drop we had seen. So this is a very critical zone. I would not be randomly shorting 85k as resistance. I would need to first see Bitcoin actually give me this failure of a move. So we see actually the fake out happen on Bitcoin. If that does happen, then I'm willing to jump into a short on Solana. However, obviously, if Bitcoin just gets back above 61.3 and then we never see Bitcoin lose that level and we actually see Bitcoin like hold 61.3 and even reclaim the anchored view up, and that would potentially cause Bitcoin to go here to 64, I'm not going to be short in Solana. So it's very contextual based on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin doesn't give us a fake out, I'm not willing to short. If Bitcoin does fake out, I'm open to shorting an asset, which is Solana, obviously. And as I said, I'm just continuing long, happy to hold my long, even if Bitcoin was to drop. I'm not going to be closing my successful long. I've already taken 50% off, moved and secured my stop loss, and I'm already in some good amount of profits, willing to actually wait for higher on Bitcoin until something of a fake out happens, whether on Bitcoin and or Solana.